It never ceases to amuse me how very unsmart the average American is. But it has already been documented that the average American reads at about a 7th to 8th grade level. And if that is true, it means the average American is damn near illiterate. And when I say average American, I obviously don't mean us, because they don't mean us when they say average American either. This is why so many of them are in the comment sections bringing up Roseanne Barr, Gina Carano, and others who have been, quote, canceled, unquote, because of things they did or said in the past. And they're trying to compare that to the latest situation with Jimmy Kimmel, or to people who have been fired and harassed for speaking out against Charlie Kirk's words. And I'm here to tell you they're not the same thing. Here's the problem with that analogy. The FCC chair, Brendan Carr, went on a podcast with some guy named Benny Johnson and directly threatened ABC, owned by Walt Disney Companies, and Nexstar Media Group, which is currently trying to acquire another company called Tegna. In his comments, he basically said that if those companies didn't do something about Jimmy Kimmel, there would be, quote, more work for the FCC, unquote. That sounds like a direct threat by the head of a government agency to me. I don't know what it sounds like to you, but that's what it sounds like to me. And not long after those comments, Jimmy Kimmel's show was pulled indefinitely by ABC. This is a clear government action to suppress speech, which violates the First Amendment. As y'all know, I have a whole law degree and a license to practice. There's even a legal term for this. It's called, quote, jawboning, unquote. Go to Google. It's free. The Supreme Court recently ruled in NRA versus Vulo 2024 that the government cannot do what the FCC chair apparently just did. This is not about cancel culture. This is about a violation of the First Amendment. And let's be clear. The First Amendment and the right to free speech are so foundational that even the deceased, unrepentant, racist, misogynist, white supremacist Christian nationalist, whose name I don't plan to say very often going forward, because I think that's more representative of who he was and the things that he said. Even he spoke out about the importance of protecting the First Amendment. Why? In my opinion, because he understood that some of the horrific things he said wouldn't be protected otherwise if the First Amendment wasn't. He literally opposed the concept of, quote, hate speech, unquote, because he wanted his own hateful words to be protected. Even Tucker Carlson, who I call the hateful bowtie man, has spoken out against what just happened with Jimmy Kimmel. Why? Because again, he recognizes that the things that he says might not be protected if the U.S. government tries to pass a hate speech law, or if the Supreme Court fails to uphold the right to say even hateful things in the public square without government interference. So when you have the occupant of the White House claiming that if people say bad things about him, it should be illegal, you should be very, very concerned, regardless of what your political leanings happen to be. I know I am, because right now we have the right to speak out against the occupant. That's part of our First Amendment rights. We have the right to say things and to say what we really think of him and to disagree with the things that he is doing. And the government does not have the right to legally interfere with that. That doesn't mean your employer could not decide that they don't like what you said because they feel in their estimation that it harms their reputation or their brand or brings some other negative attention to their business. For example, Roseanne Barr, the comedian, who was fired after she said something very racist about Valerie Jarrett, a person who worked in the Obama administration. In that case, it was a decision made by ABC, and there is no evidence that it was requested or coerced by the Obama administration. That's cancel culture. It's not government violation of the First Amendment. And yet, here we are. The vice president of the occupant went on television telling people to report their co-workers and fellow citizens if they hear them saying anything about the deceased, unrepentant, racist, misogynist, white supremacist Christian nationalist. That should concern you. It should concern all of us, because that's the government instructing people to interfere with other people's speech in a way they wouldn't otherwise. Honestly, at this point, I think people should consider filing a class action. That's my honest opinion. I also think people should document and do research on anyone who reports them and gets them fired from their job, and consider taking legal action against those individuals or groups. That's what I would do if someone tried to get me fired. Luckily, I'm self employed and I handpick my clients. But these are things people need to keep in mind as this situation escalates, and it will escalate further. Instead of being afraid, you need to be thinking about how to stand up for your rights that you already have. Because if you don't stand up for the rights you already have, in this environment, you're not likely to have them for much longer. And this is one of the reasons I keep talking about the importance of reading and why I say we need to make reading great again in our community. People don't know the information because they don't read. They don't understand the difference between cancel culture and First Amendment violations because they don't read. Americans, as I said, are damn near illiterate, but you are not because you're watching this video. So I urge you to grab a book from the AntiHR reading list. Accessing the list is completely free. Obviously, if you decide to buy a book on the list, that's not free. But reading the list is free. And don't remember that you can get a lot of these books in the library. But buy someone you love a book. Make reading a priority in your home. Libraries are closing left and right, and even when they're open, there's always almost nobody in there. They're not being properly funded because people are not using it. If more people actually use them, maybe that wouldn't be the case. Take your children to the library. Encourage your children to go to the library. If you don't have a library card, go get one and make sure your kids have one too. To understand what is happening right now, you have to read. You need to read a lot of books. Many of the ones you should start with are on that list. I suggest you begin with The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. It will help you understand what is currently happening inside of your own government, what the current occupant and his minions are actually doing. They are using the death of the deceased, unrepentant, racist, misogynist, white supremacist, Christian nationalist as a vehicle to strip away your rights. It's all from the same playbook. None of this is new. All of these things have been done before, and Jimmy Kimmel was pointing that out, and that's what pissed them off, I think. So again, it's important to know the difference between cancel culture and a government violation of the First Amendment. They are not the same thing. Anybody who tries to tell you this is the same as what happened to Roseanne Barr is dead wrong. Tell them to go read a damn book and educate themselves about the First Amendment. And that's that on that. You can find a link to my 2025-2026 anti-HR reading list in the description of this video. You can also grab some Make Reading Great Again gear in my online store, which is linked to this video. It would be helpful if you grab something. It will help my business. As always, this is Anne-Marie. This is the Anti-HR. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, comment, but do so constructively, and subscribe and share this video with a friend. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.